Nobody will move.
Meeting will come to order, please. Johanna, would you read the statement of compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, please?
The notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act for this meeting have been satisfied. A copy of the annual meeting notice was sent to the Atlantic City Press, Star Ledger, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, the municipal website, and filed in the office of the municipal clerk. Please turn off all electronic devices.
You are now.
Fred. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, just in case we need it. Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Becker,
Here.
Commissioner Amadeo.
Here.
Commissioner Blumberg.
I am here.
First item for discussion listed under D1 is ordinance pertaining to the cannabis sales and consumption. Scott, do you have anything to report?
I have a lot to report, Mayor. We have been putting a lot of effort into looking at this. Of course, I'm sure everybody's aware of how many of our neighboring communities are responding. I had sent these out for comments from everyone. The police chief gave me some comments, Rich gave me a lot of comments, the city clerk was extremely helpful on this. The most recent, as of today, proposed ordinance, you've gotten copies, but then we've made some changes. Rich wanted some refinements, which I thought actually are pretty good to do. And we'll email these to you too. What we're doing, would you like one or sure? You don't have to probably another one. I do. I'll give you one extra sheet. Okay. Now, what we're doing is, as you know, many of the communities under the state law, we're allowed to prohibit, this ordinance would be to prohibit the sale of cannabis or marijuana or hashish within the city of Margate. Many towns are enacting the ordinances based on statutory authorization that we're allowed to do that. If we don't do that by the deadlines in August, we're precluded. We're not allowed to do it after August for a period of 5 years. I think that's probably the impetus to many of these towns to therefore pass it rather than lose that ability to prohibit a pot shop or cannabis shop in the town. Now, I know you've had many comments, commissioners. I've talked to all three of you about this. Here's the latest version, and it would prohibit cannabis shop stored in Margate. Do you have any questions on it?
No, I don't.
I do not either. One question, how about, does this include not smoking on public property?
That's a separate ordinance.
That's 09.
We got one coming up after this one.
So I would like to, for the commission to consider and the public to consider, the idea that we don't discourage business from coming into Margate, and that maybe what we would do would be to allow if a shop, I'm okay with the portion of the ordinance that says we're not going to grow, we're not going to cultivate, but I think we shouldn't just close down a business from wanting to operate. I think we could issue licenses. We'll kind of treat it like we treat alcohol. And so if a business or two wants to entertain opening up and selling marijuana, why not have licenses? I think we could get 50, 100,000, I don't know what the figure would be, to issue a couple of licenses like we issue liquor licenses. And the reality is that 65, 70% of the public has voted for the legalization of this marijuana. And I think that there's going to be businesses opened up. They might be opened up in Ventnor, they might be opened up in Northfield. At some point in time, there's going to be these places that are selling marijuana, and people are going to be making money. Not only that, the sale of marijuana is going to bring in a lot of tax revenue. And my understanding is that part of that tax revenue goes to the state, and then a portion of that will come back to Margate, to the cities. And so I think that we might be missing out on something if we just say no. And so that's my thinking on it. I don't necessarily, I'm not dead set that it should be that way. But I wanted, John and Mike and maybe the public, and this is why I asked for this not to be on, the voting of these not be tonight, just so that we could get some dialogue going on that. We issue ice cream licenses, we issue alcohol licenses. Maybe we should be considering down the road issuing marijuana licenses. The brief discussion I had with Rich suggests that we could, if we were strong about passing this ordinance, we could pass it and then a year down the road rescind it to allow, I don't know if that's right or wrong. So if we pass the ordinance and said, no, we're not going to allow a business in Margate to operate, a year from now, Scott, could we rescind that ordinance?
So I think you're stuck with it.
So whatever we're stuck with for 5 years? I don't think so.
No?
Scott, I think you may be misunderstanding what I understood more to say. If we don't pass this ordinance by August, it's allowed, and you can't change that.
Right,
for
that's
5
exactly right.
years.
True.
That's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
Maury is saying just the opposite. If we go ahead and pass it now, and in a future date, whether it's a month or a year or 5 years, you want to modify the ordinance and allow cultivating it or allow retail sales of it, you could do it then. You can always open it back up again. That's the question he has to you.
I
I'm not
thought
gonna
it was
answer
barred
for
for 5 years.
Excuse me?
I thought it was barred for 5 years.
Well, that's the question he's asking you, so
Yeah.
you need to.
We
I
need that
disagree,
answer.
but
We
I'm
need
not
that
part of it.
answer.
In other words,
Would you look into that?
I'm going to tell you what it is. So we don't pass the ordinance by August.
No. We pass this ordinance that you've
Oh,
written.
and then you want to rescind it.
Then a year from now or 6 months from now,
Let me
could
double
we
check.
say, hey, it's okay, we're going to issue licenses and it's okay for you to sell? And that way we're flexible in that we now understand the dynamic of what's going on with marijuana sales. I think people are going to be buying it, and if they're going to be able to buy it in Northfield, then let's let the people from Margate buy it here.
Let me double check it, but I thought you were locked in for 5 years either way. I'll double check.
Okay, that's all I have,
No
guys.
difference.
I agree with Scott there. Now, number two, just to touch base respectfully to Maury, I have some concerns being a shore town, a tourist destination, a small family town, to have small cannabis businesses within the boundaries of Margate. I don't think it's a fit for us, although I get your point on the business end, we should be open-minded as far as business goes. I get that. My concern, and I have a deep concern, as I've read, as everybody else has, with the decriminalization and all the things that are happening now, I think the voters of New Jersey, and this is just my opinion, the 65% vote in favor wouldn't be 65% now if they know how we've hand-tied our police department on enforcement. We've had problems with kids, with alcohol, and probably marijuana on our beach and all throughout our town in the past where we couldn't do search of igloos and kids walking on the beach. Now, if a police officer makes a stop on the street of someone driving a motor vehicle and they smell marijuana and they can't see it, they have no probable cause. So it does handcuff our police department in many ways. So I think we have to be very careful not to put an undue stress on the enforcement end on our side. It's going to be bad enough for us, and we just read the recent email that Lisa McLaughlin sent. We're up, what, 112,000 from 2019 on beach tag sales? 112,000. That's telling me right now what our summer's going to be like. And I think our police are going to have their hands full. And correct me, Scott, I believe there's only 41 retail shops throughout the entire state of New Jersey.
No, it's limited. It's
Yeah,
definitely.
it's 41. So you think they're going to pick a town like Margate for retail sales? No, it's going to go to a town that has a bigger population, like Newark, Atlantic City possibly. It will be here. It's legalized. It's technically legalized now. I just think as us being a small town with mom and pop businesses, I just don't think it looks good for our profile. But that, again, is just my opinion, just like you have your opinion. So
I
respectfully,
absolutely understand.
okay.
Let me give you a better answer, because I knew it was in here, and I'm going to get it exact. The failure of a municipality to timely enact an ordinance prohibiting such operations results in a cannabis business that's not prohibited as having a period of 5 years to grow, cultivate, manufacture, sell, resell. Then at the end of 5 years, there is another revisiting during a new, I'll use the words, during a new 180 day period for any ordinance. So if you don't prohibit it between now and August, the deadline, you can't prohibit it for 5 years. And then after
Right,
5 years,
We understand it, we understood that.
can, okay, well, I just.
But if we
There it
do
was.
allow it, if we prohibit it now,
Well, I
it
take
could-
that to mean you can't, 2 years from now, say, you know, it was a bad idea, let's change our mind.
well, so that.
I'll double check.
Yeah, if you
That's-
could,
To me, I think, no, because then they invest, they get their store open, they
right.
buy their equipment, all that, you can't just turn it off.
My opinion, if you don't mind. I guess when it comes to this, I'm a bit of a prude personally. Okay, my decision will be made on what's best for Margate. And as of right now, excuse me, I agree with John. I don't think it's, an atmosphere we want to create here. And just one quick response to Marge. 65% of the state did vote in favor of it, but I'm not sure that reflects what Margate would think of it. Anyone else? John, you have anything else?
Now, I think the discussion is good. I think if Scott comes back to help Maury and even myself with a little bit more understanding, because what I'm reading is strictly what's printed in press and the media. And, I mean, right now, at least the state legislature did change the one and created a law where the parents now can be notified, where before, if an 18-year-old or a 16-year-old kid was caught with it, they just get a warning and walk away, from what I understood. So
That's how I.
they're looking now at where their mistakes were in designing the legislation, and now it's in the hands of this commission that was appointed, of people throughout the state to come up with the regulations and all the things. They say it's really, the good thing is it's not even going to come online, the retail sale, until 2024 is the last thing I read. So that's 3 years away before you're going to even see a retail shop. So I think at that point, you're still going to be able to, you're still gonna have a window at the expiration of the 5 years that if you see that you wanna reconsider it at that point, you're only a year and a half or 2 years away. The other thing is, it's only 2%. The state gets the majority, the lion's share of the income from it. And I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of income generated throughout the state that'll help out the state coffers, just like our Golden Goose, our casinos in Atlantic City were the Golden Goose of the state. I think that there's a possibility that you're gonna see an increase in income in the Treasury in the state of New Jersey that I hope benefits the taxpayers and the issues that need to be addressed with this. So with that said, we'll wait to hear from you, Scott, with more information.
Yep,
You good with that, Mark?
thank you, yeah.
I'm good too.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, I have a question on 09/2021, which is the ordinance establishing prohibiting consumption of cannabis and hash in public areas in the city of Margate, et cetera. And technically, and I think I've said this to Rich on several occasions, we do have a state law that prohibits smoking. But I think this reaffirms and gives us the opportunity to have enforcement on our end if they're smoking or partaking in the event in public areas. Again, our police are handcuffed to really, unless they actually see the product, to do any kind of arrest or any kind of correction.
I have that ordinance here.
Yeah, my concern is the posting of signs.
Well, I talked it over with the police chief, and what we did is we've reduced it, and I talked over with Rich Deeney. Signs shall be clearly, sufficiently, and conspicuously posted in public areas. The sign shall state, smoking cannabis, marijuana, or hashish in public is prohibited, or substantially similar language. That's refined it. Believe it or not, I've checked with many of our seashore sister communities. This generates hours and hours of discussion, and signs is a big part of that discussion. But we would like to have something in there, I think, Mr. City Administrator, if you back me up, to have some kind of signage that says we're gonna notify you, have notice in Margate that we're not allowing you to smoke pot on the beach, or in our playgrounds, or at our ball field, or at our promenade. Unless you guys figure it's okay. I mean,
It's not like that.
Yeah.
It's not like, well, whatever we want to do, in
Well,
my opinion.
yeah, but-
Okay? In order to assure that you can enforce an ordinance like this, there should be a public sign someplace. Where it was written previously, it implied that every public place had to have a sign. So if you went out on the pier down on Amherst Avenue and it didn't have a sign on the pier, oh, you can't arrest me because there's no sign here. It's like skateboarding on a boardwalk. It's like 100 other laws that we have, picking up after your dog. There should be publicly posted signs at entrances or at some public places. So at least if you're going into court, you say, hey, there's signs here. People, just like all the other ordinances, you need to pay attention to the fact.
But we don't have a sign for every ordinance that's written in the
Well, we
city.
don't have a sign in every block for any ordinance.
Right.
Which is where we were before.
All's my concern is, I think signs junk up a city.
I agree.
The least amount that we have to do to make it enforceable, I would support. And I don't think it looks good. No
That's how we got
smoking,
to this.
what?
That's how we got to this.
I'm for putting one sign in, public places that, indicates the major ordinances that we have a problem. You don't have to do it, but the fact is, I think you risk, you go into court and somebody's just gonna check.
Well, I didn't know.
There's a big risk here to not do it, John. I agree with you. I hate signs, but
I've
it's a
got,
necessary evil.
I have a question, and
Go ahead.
so for Scott, the state law that allows you to smoke marijuana, does it allow you to smoke marijuana in a park?
No.
In a public park? It
Nope.
does not.
Nope,
Does it allow you to smoke marijuana on the beach?
nope.
Does not.
Well, that's a public park.
Right? So it's a public park. So you can't, by state law, you can't go over to the Jerome Avenue Rec Complex and smoke marijuana. Is that correct?
True.
Just like you can't go there and smoke a cigarette.
Or drink beer.
and we don't have signs there for that. So why can't we just treat this like we treat alcohol? And so is it not then more or less gonna be general knowledge that you're not allowed to do it?
We already have no smoking signs on the beach. We already have no smoking signs around the schools. We already have no smoking signs at the ballpark,
Right.
because when it became state law, we posted all them on those green, on the green signage.
Right.
We just had the signs made, Matt had sent me a proof for the public pier. The pier wanted you to wear, because it's a wooden structure, shoes when you're on the pier. And on that sign, it says, must wear shoes, no smoking, open dusk to dawn, or closed dusk to dawn. So, I think no smoking covers a lot, Rich, whether it's cigarettes.
I agree it does.
Every lifeguard stand says no smoking, no alcoholic beverages. So I think we're covered there. I think possibly if we put some at the parks, and when I say the parks, not where, our Luthi Scene Park is, but maybe at the ballpark, in conspicuous areas, or just add it to the signage that already exists. But it does say no smoking at the ballpark.
I think that's what
Say it of any.
And most of our street end signage at the beach say.
Yeah, and every lifeguard stand says.
But here's what I think, and again, this is a hotly debated provision of all the seashore towns. I think you're much better off having this as a prophylactic device to have some control in public areas. But if you don't want to do that, but I recommend this just the way it is. I love the input from our city administrator with his vast background and experience, where he said, and I agree with him, you gotta have it posted in some public area.
I would agree with that.
And so this is it, but of course, it's up to you guys, you have the discretion, but that's the recommendation we came up with.
Fred?
The chief's on the line. Uh-oh. Chief Hankinson, do you want to say something?
Yes, thanks, Fred. Mayor and Commissioners, I want to echo some of the things that were brought up by the Mayor and Commissioner Amadeo, and that is with this law, there are some things that are still vague at this point. I think we're going to need to work through some of these things as we move forward, especially with the police department in our enforcement of the new state law. So I do agree with the discussions we are having regarding it, but I do think that there's some things we still have to discuss and work out as we move forward, even with the signs, and that's why I spoke to the city solicitor and I've spoken to Commissioner Amadeo regarding this. As we move forward, it's all going to be a work in progress for all of us.
Thank you, Chief. Any other comment here? It's a good thing we have discussions like this, because we're not under the gun, and it's good.
I would hope we hear some from the public, some comments from the public.
So I have one more question related to this ordinance on holidays like Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, when we allow bonfires and alcohol on the beach. Are we going to allow people?
We don't allow alcohol. We allow fires.
We don't allow smoking either.
No smoking, no alcohol.
So on those days, we don't allow. So
It happens, but we
have it, but it's not allowed. Okay, so we allow barbecuing.
barbecue.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So it's not allowed. All right, I got it.
Okay.
Chief, the police are off that day.
That's a direct order, Chief.
Yeah, right. Any other,
I don't think so.
With pay.
you'll hold down the fort, Matt. Any other comments?
I'll try.
Okay.
Never mind.
Why don't we go to Mr. Dennis's report, if you don't mind, for Ed?
Certainly. Okay.
So item A on the report is our dredging project. This was recently authorized. We're on 3 different parallel tracks here. Stockton University is working on their fisheries survey, and they will also be assisting with some of the sampling and testing of the dredge material. We, Remington and Vernick, are working on the citywide dredging permit application, which is in progress, and that would cover the permitting of dredging throughout the entire Back Bay area that's included in our project. And on the 3rd parallel track would be the continuing effort to use Shelter Island as a dredge disposal site, when actually the permit to the DEP would be a marsh restoration project, and the dredge material would just happen to be the material we are using to restore the marshes. So that project is moving forward, like I said, on a 3-pronged approach, and I'll continue to report on that at future meetings. And then just to add to that, our looking down the road, schedule-wise, the idea would be that we could be in position to have a permit around this time next year, and possibly plan on dredging as early as that following fall. Obviously, all of that is very tentative, and we will revisit it as we move along in the process. Item B is the floodproofing of this building that's been waiting on FEMA to approve the additional funding for the project that they indicated they would approve when we bid the project. We received bids back in September. We've basically been going month to month with the bidder on this one. So far, they have been holding their price. We're coming up on another one of those 30-day periods, and we've sent a request over to the bidder to confirm that they will hold their pricing for an additional 30 days. And the answers we're getting back, the way this flows is it flows from us to the New Jersey Office of Emergency Management, and then up to FEMA. And the response we've been getting through OEM is that FEMA's just overwhelmed and that they haven't been able to get to this. But I believe the last update we got was that someone had been assigned to the review, but it still has been obviously months waiting for this to come through. But the project is still active and the bid is still good. Item C is a assessment that we're completing in compliance with the Water Quality Act that was passed a couple years ago. We did our asset management plan, I think it was in 2019, and this is just the next step in that compliance process. So this will be completed and submitted in time for the June 21st deadline. Item D is the Adams Avenue Stormwater Pump Station project. We submitted a grant application back in November. Our grant consultant, Jim Bertella, did. In speaking with Jim, the decision timeline on this grant program would probably occur in the fall. So this will remain on the report for a little while until we hear back on this grant application for the pump station down on Adams Avenue. Item E is a drainage analysis for the drainage area surrounding Minnie Creek. That is nearly complete. We've looked at a variety of scenarios on how we may be able to address this. And as of this morning, that report is almost complete, and I'll be reporting on that possibly at the next meeting. So that is a coming attraction. Item F is our next phase of curb and gutter for 2021. That is being completed along with some of the other design projects I'm going to cover in a few minutes. So the survey work will be scheduled on that, and it should be completed shortly. Item G is the well number 5 project, the redevelopment of well 5. That job is ready to go out to bid, and I believe it was advertised today. So we have a bid opening on June 10th, and then we would be awarding at the following commission meeting. So that project is out to bid. Item H is the bridle path. I actually got a call from a resident on the bridle path today. I guess they noticed our surveyors out there. So this project will go into design this year, and I believe it's budgeted for, it's not budgeted. It is not budgeted for construction this year. The idea is we would get the design done this year with a budget for construction in the next capital budget. So that's item H. Item I is the next phase of Amherst Avenue from Douglas to Gladstone. The survey work is complete on that project. We have a state aid grant of $285,000 for this phase of Amherst Avenue. We're working on the base plans. This would be a summer design project that would go out to bid for construction in the fall. Edgemarsh Circle utility extension. The survey work is also complete on that project. Base plans are in progress. The item K, the municipal building interior renovations. We had a really good kickoff meeting on, it was last week, a week ago today. I was there, Mr. Dini and Mr. Verna attended, along with our project architects, Set and Brino Architects. We had a, an hour and a half discussion. I think we covered everything pretty thoroughly, and the architects hung back, and I think Fred walked them around and took measurements, and I think we were all happy with the, the discussion and some of the ideas that were kicked around at the kickoff meeting on what direction I think we're heading in on this. So that is now in the schematic design phase. The architects will be speaking with staff at the municipal building to get some input, and we'll keep that going. The idea would be it would be a fall construction project. So that is in progress. Under general engineering, we did submit our annual CDBG application to the ACIA. This year we applied for the Union Avenue bulkhead access, keeping with our bulkhead cut-through program we've been working on for a number of years now, so that has been submitted. And we do have a state aid application coming due on July 1st. This is the annual DOT state aid application period. I'm scheduling a meeting with Frank to go over a list of roads that we've developed and potentially come out with a recommendation from that list on what we should apply for through state aid. And then, of course, we'll take any input from the governing body on what direction we want to go in on the state aid for 2022. That is our design projects. Does anybody have any questions on anything I've covered so far? Are we good?
Go.
Keep rolling? All right, on the construction side, we have our maintenance bonds are pretty much all up to date. In fact, I think I saw Joe Johnston had the maintenance bond inspection complete for the 2017 CDBG beach access, so that letter will be sent out. Item N is Phase 1 of Atlantic Avenue. Rich and I have been emailing on some of the punch list items that are still on the list from Phase 1 that will be completed as part of the punch list of Phase 2. So our inspectors are going to go out and do another run through that first phase to make sure we capture everything as part of this punch list on Phase 2 so we can get this project closed out. It has been left open. What happened was we ended up with the same contractor with Phase 2, and he was planning to get everything done at the end of Phase 2, both phases. So that takes us to Phase 2 of Atlantic Avenue, which, as everyone knows now, has been paved. So that project is complete. We're now working on the punch list and closeout. And we can get that and Phase 1 closed out once all the punch list work is complete. Item P really is Bayshore Drive West. Thurlow Avenue has been done for some time now. Bayshore Drive West is complete. It's been paved. I did receive a call from a resident over there who had some concerns about restoration, which we'll take care of, but that project is now complete and we can begin the closeout process for Thurlow and Bayshore. The bulkhead project, item Q, on Amherst Avenue will be closed out. There was some electrical work that was kind of intertwined with the Promenade project, and once that's done, we can formally close out that contract, although that work has essentially been complete for some time now. Item R really should come off this list. I think this is done. I'll have to check with Lisa if we did get the reimbursement. This is the bulkhead access through Argyle Avenue. This was our 2019 CDBG allotment. I know on my end we've submitted everything. We just left it on here to confirm that the city got the reimbursement. So I'll check with Lisa on that. Item S is Amherst Avenue Phase 1 from Douglas to Clarendon. So we reported on this at the last meeting with the issues we had out there with the damage to some of the homes. I reported at the last meeting that work had resumed. We do have vibration monitoring at the site, and so far there have been no incidents, at least that I'm aware of, as far as excessive vibrations or additional damage. The utility work is complete on that project, so all the utility work is done. Right now they are just working on the concrete work, and once that's done they will be base paving. So they are working to complete that project as expeditiously as they can to try to get that area cleaned up for the residents of that neighborhood. So far so good on the restart. And I should say, I have been in contact with the residents on that street as far as the damage to their home, is very much at the top of our list. We're not just, we've always looked at this as a parallel track of getting the road work done, but we for sure are not going to forget about the damage that has been done to those homes and make sure we're going to hold our contractor accountable through their insurance company to address it. And I know there's a lot of frustration there. And again, I've been in contact with them pretty much weekly, and we're doing what we can to push the contractor on that front. Item T is the 2019-20 curb and gutter program. That will be off this list shortly. It's being closed out. That work is complete. Amherst Avenue Promenade. So we had a site meeting out there on Monday with the contractor, Commissioner Amadeo, myself, Chief of Police, and Roger McLaren also attended. So the update on the promenade is, as I reported at the last meeting, we're continuing to deal with delays in the decking, the lumber material for the decking. The latest report that I have, which was discussed at that meeting, is that the first delivery is now pushing out into June, the beginning part or the middle of June, which will further push the project out. It's about a 30-day completion period once we have that material. So as that lumber keeps pushing, so will the completion of the project. So the reason for meeting that on Monday was two things. Number one, we are preparing to stripe the road and to essentially and functionally convert Amherst Avenue to a one-way street. That will happen Monday. I know that Chief Hankinson has been working on coordinating with the contractor to make sure it's as smooth as a transition as it can be, and to make sure that the contractor has the access he needs to stripe the road without vehicles parked on the street. So again, we're looking at a Monday striping. A lot of the signs the signs will have been installed by that point. They've been bagged. The bags will be removed, and Amherst Avenue will be one way from Washington Avenue to Coolidge Avenue come Tuesday. So we were out there to make sure that was properly coordinated. And the second reason we were out there was due to the delays in the completion of the project. We wanted to make sure that we had proper access to all the marinas along the promenade while we're in this holding pattern. And I think we were all happy with how we have everything set up there. The plan is that they are going to remove the temporary construction fence from the site on Friday, which will open up the parking area for parking. There will be some construction fence to deter people from climbing on the unfinished promenade. And as soon as we have the material in hand, the contractor will be returning to the site in force to get this work completed as quickly as possible. And what he'll do, he's got enough runway where once the decking really gets going, he'll follow behind with the railing and the lighting so that we can kind of get it done on a parallel track. And according to the contractor, we're looking at about 30 days from when they receive their material. So at this point, we're looking at a mid-July finish is where we're at. And that's day-to-day with the material. Item V is the Benson Avenue water tank interior painting, which is complete. It's in the closeout phase. Item W is the work out here on Ventnor and Washington. The brick pavers, paving, benches are complete. We do have 4 trees that are being planted and striping and signage that needs to be completed, but that project is nearing completion. Item X is the Atlantic Avenue Road Diet, which everyone knows is underway. The project is not done. There is still additional striping that needs to take place to further delineate the bike lanes. There will be gore striping. Right now you see the longitudinal white stripes on each side of the bike lane. There will be diagonal gore striping that goes in between that striping to further delineate the bike lanes from the drive lanes. There will also be bike lane symbols and markings that go into the bike lanes, and there will also be additional signage. All of that is in progress. I believe that the symbols, I think I saw them out there doing some symbols today. It may have been the crosswalks, but I know
they
that.
have cones now in the
Right.
bike lane, which makes it way better.
Right. So but I know the last schedule I saw was that the markings were scheduled to start on Monday. And I would say the contractor is ahead of schedule. So he's making good progress. So I would just ask, the public to just bear with us as we finish out the job, but the job is not in its final form at this point. And then the last item on the list, certainly not least, is the Firehouse Station 2 addition. We had our pre-construction meeting yesterday. So the notice to proceed was issued, and we have a completion date of December 15th. Happy birthday. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ed.
Mike, I have a couple of questions, if I
Sure,
may.
you may.
Ed, when you, just more on the promenade, how will it open up to the public? Is it going to remain closed until it's 100% complete?
Has to be.
Right, so nobody's gonna be able to get on there as so the fencing will remain, the barrier will be raised, so nobody can get on there until it's 100% complete, right?
Correct.
And so, is there, which more or less closes that the whole summer? Is there any merit in like temporary plywood that we could put down so that if we want it, I mean, I don't know, it might be unrealistic, it might be, cost prohibitive, but, and maybe you already talked about it, to open, open some portion or all of it while we're waiting for this wood, and we're hoping that the wood's gonna come, but, that's a big hope, I think.
We need railings.
You'd have to have railings.
That's the thing, and although the project itself may not be complete until the middle of July, construction, hopefully, will recommence within a matter of weeks. So it's not as if we did a temporary plywood, you would have access to the promenade for that. Once they start and once the guys are back, nobody can be on the promenade because they're gonna be working on the promenade.
Right.
So at most, you would only gain a couple weeks, between now and the first week of June.
Yeah, he's gonna blow it out with
Right.
So
crews.
the idea is, I just want to, just so everybody knows, we're going to keep it closed and we're agreed that it's closed, so we don't have any issues there. But people are, I heard you say, we're not going to lose the parking there. We're going to have all that parking, right?
That was the purpose of
So-
moving the construction
Go ahead.
fence and putting temporary
Yeah.
orange snow fence along where the ballards are. So people, will have parking for all our businesses and restaurants there all summer long, and then they're gonna stage X amount of footage every day as they come down. And people still would be able to park in certain areas.
Right,
but
okay.
The chief will block off areas as necessary, coordinating with the contractor. But we're shutting the street down 7 a.m. on Monday morning for the line striping.
Good.
And he said he believes that the line striping foreman or superintendent said he thinks he can get it done in a day.
Yeah, there may be some minor things they gotta do the next day, but it'll be functional by the end of the day.
Right. Okay, my second question is, have we discussed with the striping contractor and/or internally the one or two big electronic signs on Atlantic that say, new traffic pattern? Maybe one at the entrance of Ventnor and one at the entrance of Longport, so that people that are new see that, we're going down to one lane. Is that something that we should consider? And maybe the same thing on Amherst, where we're going one way. I know we don't like these electric signs, but I think the big one would work, and I'm still afraid that even though when we're all painted, people that aren't familiar that are coming from 4 lanes in Ventnor into Margate are gonna be, in that bike lane. At least for a little period, unless we
Not a bad
think
idea.
about a couple of big signs.
I could discuss that with the contractor.
Okay.
Ed,
New
Lafayette
traffic
has a
pattern.
message board around Baltimore Avenue and Ventnor, warning construction ahead.
Right,
They could program that, just put new traffic pattern.
right.
Ed, you'll take care of that?
Yes, I will.
Okay. Okay,
That's all I have, yep.
okay.
Watch him pick it up tonight.
Thank you, Ed, Maury.
Got it.
Let's go to department head reports. Chief Adams, you have anything to report tonight?
No, you-
One. Yeah, Mayor, just real brief. One, beach patrol season is getting ready to kick into high gear with the Memorial Day weekend coming. Chief Smallwood is on top of getting all the personnel trained. CPR and first aid training was completed as of last night. They're preparing the equipment for the season, and we also have a bunch of additional training that we're providing to them for this season, which will definitely help us in the long run. The fire department, we're still, our call numbers are still up from what we've been responding to. We just completed 2 great training sessions Tuesday and today, where we got all of our personnel out for live burn training evolutions to have them prepared for any type of response they may come upon. And we're just working toward the holiday weekend and getting prepared. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Fred, would you ask Chief Hankinson if he has a report?
He can hear you.
Okay, Fred, Matt?
Mayor, Commissioners, thank you. Again, I'm just sure I will have a much longer report after Memorial Day, but I just wanted to reiterate some things from Ed Dennis that we would appreciate the public. It's going to take a little bit of time for the road diet for everything to get finished with it. I think it's going to work safely for the motoring public and the bicyclist as it finishes up. I agree with Commissioner Blumberg that maybe we need to get some signage up there for the new traffic patterns as we move into Memorial Day weekend. And again, I just ask the public to give us some time and let these new traffic patterns work out. And I think it's better for the safety of the citizens of the city and the motoring public as we move into the summer. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Chief. Rich, do you have anything?
Briefly, Mayor, the newsletter that we've been putting out this last 8 months or so, the electronic newsletter is going out tomorrow for the month of May. And I just say that publicly. We have approximately 1,000 people that are subscribed to it. If they would like to subscribe to the electronic newsletter, they may do so at any time, and if they go on our website, they should be able to find out how to do that. And I'm looking at Fred. One of us will check the website, but that's where it's supposed to be. In addition to that, I have a question of all of us, really. I got a notice, or probably 2 notices, one from the clerk relative to a new round of Green Acres applications, and I would soliciting any ideas from the commissioners or any other department heads if they think that there's something that's worthy. Now, it can't just be a routine type of a project. The amount of money and the amount of applications they have is pretty competitive. But there is an opportunity there if people have any suggestions. And I just want to ask Ed if he'll get back in touch with Roger or anybody else that he needs to, but I'm unsure of where we're going with a stormwater management plan, and it was my understanding that had to be adopted in the first half of this year, and if so, we need to coordinate with Scott and get an ordinance and figure out how to do that, and so if
I will
you
have
get
some for
back
the
in
next
touch
meeting.
with me, I
Yep.
appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank
Will
you.
do.
Anything else? Thank you. Fred, do you have anything?
Yeah, I do, Mayor. The roof project at the municipal building probably will be wrapping up sometime next week for sure. Will be done by Memorial Day for sure. The project went as smooth as could be. Hardly anybody even knew we were working on the roof. So that's a huge project to get completed. That just makes the building sound for us to do what we want inside if we have anything else to do. As Ed said, we met for the first floor project. We had a good meeting. We'll stay in touch. We're going to keep that project moving as quickly as we can, try and get it done before the end of the year. There are some other things we're going to do along with that project, technology related, so I'll intertwine that with them doing construction. As far as the other projects that Ed spoke of, the 4 trees are planted outside already. There's also 2 benches out front. And along those same lines, someone with skateboards decided to destroy our 2 railings out front. So I'm going to need some help on how to get that repaired.
I did send you something, did you get it?
You did?
Okay.
Yeah, but, well,
Out back too, there's several spots.
yeah, I know, but these railings are broken. They're ready to come right out of the ground.
Anything else, Fred?
No, that's it.
Thank you, and thank you for your supervision on that roof job, it was good. Scott, do you have anything? Okay, we'll go to public comment, we'll open public comment on anything that was discussed here today. Is there any public comment? Step up and your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Kathy Heitzman. Right now, I live at 15 South Washington until tomorrow.
Just talking to the microphone.
Oh, sorry. And then I moved to South Adams. My question for you has to do with the promenade area and the parking down there with the businesses that are there. How are people going to get into those businesses?
Get into,
The businesses, you know, like they have that water park and all that if the promenade is not done.
All the parking is going to be open. It's just going to be shut down for one day next Monday so that they can
No,
light.
not that.
There still is access.
there,
to the
there,
There will
there are
still be
entrances.
access
there now.
Sure,
June
there are
and all that.
entrances.
Okay. Second of all, did the fire department addition start? Has that
We had a
started?
kickoff meeting yesterday, but it hasn't started construction yet.
Okay. And my last question is, what are the plans for Washington Avenue this summer with the kids? It's already begun with a lot of littering, loitering, skateboards breaking the railings. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Someone else had spoken to Chief Hankinson and about this, and Chief, are you prepared to answer that yet?
I don't think he's on there now.
Well, I can answer it.
Okay.
Last meeting, we hired 3 Class 2s, which is in addition to our police department, for the purpose of bike patrol for the beach. We were anticipating the promenade being open for the beginning of the summer. So 3 additional plus the 1 that is already on the payroll. We're allowed by state law 1 full-time Class 2. The 3 others, or whoever else you hire, has to be part-time. But we plan to utilize them for enforcement. Again, with the decriminalization and the laws that have been passed through the legislature over this past year, the police are very limited on what they can do. They cannot arrest a child unless they absolutely witness the possession of anything, alcohol or anything else, and they see it. It has to be totally seen. So again, it's going to be a difficult summer.
Oh, wait. Like, one of the things that I saw all last summer was kids are riding bikes without headlights. They're not wearing helmets. I don't know if helmets are the law, but I thought headlights were a law on bikes.
Well, lights are, at night, they're supposed to have lights.
Well, none of them.
And kids under the age of 16 have to wear helmets. And I know we're doing two informative public presentations. We're doing on Thursday, the 27th of May. Our police department, in conjunction with the school district, is doing a bike rodeo for the 4th grade kids. And on June 10th, we're going to do an assembly at the Thai school for the 5th and 6th graders, because last year, because of COVID, the school was shut down and we weren't able to do the bike rodeo. So we have a program every year that we try to explain the rules of the road for bikers and the caution, and try to let them learn what the proper direction and how they have to go down the right way down a one-way street. So we're trying our best, and there's a lot of children that'll be in from out of town that won't be familiar, but again, our Class 2s, hopefully, we're going to have a good presence throughout the city with community policing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment?
Hi, gentlemen and ladies. My name's Perry Zimmerman. I've been a resident of Margate for about 45 years. Previously on Harding Avenue, most recently next door to Kathy.
May I have your address, though?
17
Thank you.
South Washington. I'm here to ask you to address two problems. The first, by far, is the easiest to address. And that's the problem of what is apparently what's invisible to most people is the fact that this is a one-way street. Okay? I've lived on Washington for about 3 years, and the problem increases exponentially over the summer. Last summer, during 1 2-hour period sitting on my deck, my wife and I witnessed 21 cars and trucks going the wrong way down the street. 21 in a 2-hour period. Now, if it's 2 or 3, it's bad drivers.
No.
If it's 10 or 11 an hour, it's horrible signage. The signage has to be improved. And I was going to ask, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, but this gentleman, he mentioned that they were working on signage for Washington, so maybe you're looking into correcting the problem. I've witnessed hundreds of very close calls involving children and adults with raised tempers and violence. During one occurrence, as I was turning into my driveway, a boy on a bike behind me went to the left to go around me, did in no way expect the pickup truck that was barreling towards him. Luckily, they both slammed on their brakes and stopped in time. Luckily. Excuse my language, but I think you need to hear what I'm subjected to on a constant basis every night throughout the summer. This was the dialogue afterwards. The boy on the bike screamed at the guy in the truck, "You're going the wrong way, asshole." The guy in the truck responded, "Fuck you, get out of my way." Then the boy on the bike took his big gulp and threw it onto the windshield of the guy in the pickup truck, and the guy in the pickup truck got out of his truck, grabbed the back from behind his seat, and took off after the boy on the bike. I live this every night in the summer, every night. I've called the police about it, and the woman that answered the phone said to me, "Sir, we're aware of the problem." That was it. That was 2 years ago. Okay? Another occurrence, again, while I was pulling into my driveway, a car went around me. Didn't see the FedEx truck barreling the wrong way down the street. The FedEx truck driver had a Wawa hoagie in one hand and a Red Bull in the other hand, and he was steering the damn truck with his elbows. Okay? I rolled down my window. I said, "You're going the wrong way." And in a very sincere manner, he said, "Oh, really? I'm sorry." And then I turned around and I saw a Margate policeman coming up behind me who was 2 cars back. This is what I live. This is what I live every night in the summer. I live this every night in the summer. Cars constantly going the wrong way. There used to be a one-way sign above the no right turn sign coming out of this parking lot right here. That one-way sign is gone. The signs that Wawa just painted in their parking lot are woefully inadequate. One goes straight, as if there's a street that goes straight, as if you could go straight out of the Wawa parking lot and right into this parking lot. And the other one goes straight this way. Because in reality, what the arrows should do is this. As dangerous as that is, that's the traffic pattern. You turn left out, and the cars that are coming up the street are turning left in. And it's very dangerous. I've witnessed, what's her name, Julia? Julia, our neighbor, with her young children, and you can cut me off whenever you want.
Okay.
With her young children running out into the streets, not looking the right way and almost getting hit by cars. The guy on the other side of the street with his basketball court, his son coming out. That's the one problem. What I would propose to resolve it is put the one-way sign back and put a big white arrow right before the Wawa, painted in the street, that says one way or do not enter or something like that.
Sir, I have to cut you off for 3 minutes.
Okay.
All right? We thank
Wait.
you, and we'll get back to you on.
Okay,
Okay?
thank
All
you.
right. Is there anyone on the phone, Fred, that would like to speak?
Is there anyone on the line that would like to speak?
Is there a motion to close public comment?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Mayor Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg?
Yes,
Motion to adjourn the meeting, please.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Mayor Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg?
Yes.
We will take a very short break and we will open our regular commission meeting.